Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in the Nerd Cage with your hosts Marq and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Yes, hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in Nerd Cage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us tonight. Please hit that like button and subscribe. I'm your co-host, Jay St. G, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York. And finally back with me, my man, the warrior from Wakanda, the fiend from Louisville, Marq Withers. Welcome back.
Thanks, man. Super excited to be here. Feeling a little bit under the weather, but much better than last Thursday. Once again, we have another look back for you this week. We could absolutely not let this one go by. It almost slipped past us, but we got it in there. So today we're going to talk about Boaz Yakim's football classic, Remember the Titans, starring Denzel Washington. Now,
I can't believe you're saying it's a classic. I feel like that movie just came out yesterday.
Yeah, like, that's why I stuttered a little bit. I was like, is it really a classic? But it's been out for like 20 years, So, I felt a certain way when I first watched it. And, it's held a special place in my heart over the years. I rewatched it and kind of got some of those vibes again. I know that you being a big fan of actual football, you probably have a certain feeling about it, and it also has one of your favorite, if not your favorite actor. I kind of wanted to see what your take was on this movie. How do you feel about it?
Okay, so I'm going to be 100% honest. I am a diehard football fan, and this how this movie speaks volumes. This show's called Nerd Cage Live for a reason. Mark's not a sports guy, but Mark loves this movie.
Yes,
so that's
exactly.
That's the thing. That's what makes this movie special. But I first saw the movie in theaters when I was 13 when it first came out, and I just rewatched it for the first time in 20 years. And you know what? Denzel is still king. But if I'm being 100% honest with myself, I feel like the movie itself does have some glaring problems. The pacing and the execution, especially towards the end, but Denzel Washington's 110% all in this movie, and this ultimately, I mean, Denzel Washington was a big name at the time, and he did a lot of big movies before this movie, but I feel like the Denzel Washington pain train started with this movie, and of course, the very next year we got Training Day. But I feel like it all started with Remember the Titans.
Right. And you're probably right about that. The thing I like about that is, not only do you have a powerhouse in Denzel Washington playing Coach Boone, but you have these like very young, you know how I feel about movies that do this. You have these early performances of actors who have gone on to just blow up and become superstars. You've got Ryan Gosling in there. You've got Hayden Panettiere. Ryan Hurst, who went on to be Opie in Sons of Anarchy. Right? You've got Wood Harris, who was later in The Wire and in a bunch of other shows, and the list goes on and on. Ethan Suplee. You've got a lot of great actors in there right at their infancy. And they all turned in great performances as well. And so, I agree with you as far as, some of the story not holding up and, them sort of Disneyfying a lot of the actual events.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think that performance-wise, I think it's solid all the way through.
Yeah, not to mention a lot of I think but this movie's legacy is the memes, the NFL memes that we've gotten, especially in recent history. Like the scene where Denzel Washington is just grilling that kid, saying, "Oh, you think it's funny?" And we see like the Tom Brady memes and Remember the Titans, after the Tennessee Titans eliminated. Like this movie spawned a whole lot of internet memes.
Yeah. So what was cool about this movie is I read this article recently about Wood Harris and Ryan Hurst kind of reunited for this GQ article, and one of the things that they said about it was that they kind of got the same vibes off of the script that we got when we rewatched this movie recently. They like kind of read the script, they're like, nah, you know, and then they found out that Boaz Yakim was going to be the director of this movie. And Boaz Yakim actually, a few years prior to that, directed this movie called Fresh. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but it has my favorite actor in it, Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
And it's about like basically this young kid who works for a gangster, and he figures out this way to kind of outsmart all these other gangsters. It's like really like a badass movie. And so just on the strength of of the information that this guy was going to be the director of this movie, they're both like, yeah, like we want in. And so, you know, this movie went through a bunch of treatments, a bunch of different rewrites until we actually got this version of it.
And you can tell because obviously the social commentary in this movie, again, keep in mind, Disney, I'm shocked that this movie now after rewatching it, like, I'm surprised this movie is rated PG, not PG-13, because there are some, you know, racial things in there. I mean, we won't go into the fine details. You'll know it when you see it. Like, whew, man, they're like on the border right now. They gotta be careful what they say. You know, you can tell like what they want to say, but they're not gonna say it because it's a Disney movie, and like, it's like, whew, it's like it's treading like light waters right there. That being said, like as you just said, it was Disneyfied the best they could, and that's what kind of bothers me a little bit, is that, you know, if this was a little more realistic, that there would be some really off-color things that could be, you know, that some of the could be in the script there, because I feel like it's almost like, I know it's based on all on true events, but it almost just doesn't feel like a true story, because it's like, you know, as you just said, it's like Disneyfied a little bit, and I just feel like it kind of kills the authenticity.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned like the true events part of it, because, you know, according to some things that I've read, there are a lot of key points in the film where they kind of played a little bit fast and loose with the truth, you know?
Yeah.
You know, for example, the film takes place in 1971. Supposedly, like, this is the first year that school gets integrated. Well, that school in real life was actually integrated in 1965. And all the teams that they played against had already been integrated schools. Yeah. So they kind of made that change for like dramatic effect.
Yeah.
All the racial tension still existed. Like the, you know, like the whole like changeover with, you know, with the team. But, you know, they've done in recent years, they've done sort of these look back interviews with the players like years later. Some will tell you that, yeah, like we did have like racial problems, but it wasn't as bad. And others will say, well, we really didn't, it really wasn't about race. Like we were just being competitive because here's this guy coming in to take your spot. Yeah. And you're trying to be as nasty to him as possible. And so like those are that's the easiest thing that you could do. So it's hard to say what's the truth there, but there's like little things here and there in the movie that they kind of changed and they kind of like embellished to kind of make that fit.
The dramatization.
A more powerful narrative. So there is that.
Yeah, but again, like, and then again, this is gonna be my last time bitching, but like, I feel like, again, this is upon the rewatch. When the games start, the training camp's probably the best part of the movie. But when the games start, the matchups start, the pacing's just so off because I feel like they move from game to game real quick towards the end there, and then you blink and miss it. All of a sudden, they're in the championship. I mean, I know they're constrained for time and all that, but I just feel like the pacing was a little off because I feel like they just jumped from game to game quicker than they should have.
Right.
But that's all I have to complain about. Other than that, like, everyone gives a dynamite performance, everybody. But Denzel, again, 110%. Like, you could tell that everyone that's on screen is just trying to keep up with Denzel because Denzel's just that good. And I just love it when Denzel goes on these tirades, you know, when he grills these boys and, like, you know, and then of course the scene where they throw a brick into his house there and, you know, he just says, you know, hey, I'm here to coach football. I ain't afraid of nobody and whatever.
Right.
Like, man, it's like, that's what made me fall in love with Denzel. Like, this was the movie that got me into Denzel, and then Training Day came out the next year, and it was all over. Like,
then you were a super fan after that.
Yes, Denzel Washington is the unquestionable greatest actor on earth. Always has been, always will be. Amen. Like, right. He's just that good. And if I'm recommending, like, if I'd never met, so anyone that's listening, if I've never met you before and you've never watched a Denzel Washington movie, this is gonna be one of the movies I'm gonna point to. Like, hey, this is one to start with. This one, Training Day, American Gangster. Like, I can name a bunch, but I feel like this is like the must-watch Denzel movie.
Yeah, he did, give a great performance. But I mean, when does he ever give a lackluster performance? You know what I mean? So never. So, I kind of agree with you on like this being like everybody was just really like just trying to keep up with Denzel Washington. And that's evident. But that said, I think that the remainder of the cast was well chosen, it, particularly like, and I keep going back to Wood Harris and Ryan Hurst playing Julius Campbell and Gary Bertier. The natural chemistry between those guys, by the way, they actually happen to be super close friends. Even they met on the set of that film and they're close friends even now, 20 years later. But that chemistry was like automatic on that set, and you could tell, and it made the actual on-screen friendship, the on-screen bond, look like 10 times more real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and these guys were very young at the time. Like they weren't as young as they were playing in the film. I think they were in their 20s, but they were early in their career, young guys, but they own those characters. They really made you believe that they were those two guys. And so, for that, I got to give them absolute props as well. And the guy that plays Petey, Donald Faison, like he's just, everything that he's in, you don't see him in a lot of big stuff. I mean, he was in Clueless, and then after this, he went on to play one of the doctors on the show Scrubs. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but I mean, literally everything that guy is in, he just like he electrifies whatever scenes he's in, because he's got such dynamism and such like energy. Like, he brings that to his performances. And so I really appreciated him being in it.
Okay, now I have to ask this, because this is an easy question that can come up in any debate or any live stream. Where would you rank this among other sports films or to make it easier, football films?
I'm probably the wrong guy to ask for this. So.
I know, that's what I'm asking.
So, all right. So I'm trying to think of all the football films I've seen. So I've seen this. I've seen Any Given Sunday.
Yep.
I've seen, Leatherheads.
The Replacements. Yep. Brian's Song.
Brian's Song.
Oh,
okay.
Man,
let's pick those five.
No, never watch that again. I'm never watching that again.
Right. Let's pick those five. And I'll tell you right now, Brian's Song is the number one football film for me. Oh, and I've seen Invincible, right? So with Mark Wahlberg. So I would say Brian's Song, then this movie, then Invincible, then no. The Replacements, then Invincible, then Any Given Sunday, and then I'm still missing one. What was another one that I said? Whatever one I said, that was the last one. I'm not a football guy.
Okay.
Not a sports guy.
It's all good. That's why it's the Nerd Cage.
That's right. You see everything behind me. There's nobody with any like football or basketball or anything. So that should tell you everything.
Yeah. So for me, I it's not the number one sports movie. By far, not at all, because I give that to Rocky. Rocky's the best sports movie of all time, bar none. But as far as football movies goes, this by default, because of Denzel, yes, this would be number one. Close number two would be like, Brian's Song. And another movie, as doofy as they are, but they make me laugh. And anyone that's played football can kind of relate to, how players overreact and stuff like that. But The Longest Yard, both the remake and the original, I laugh at those movies so hard, like when those guys like throwing tirades about the Gatorade and shit like that, and that stuff makes me laugh because I've been around those jocks and those muscle heads that get mad over stuff like that. And
right,
I didn't play I mean, I only played recreational football for like here in Syracuse for 6 years, but like my best friend was semi-pro and played in college. And,
wow,
so for us, we can reflect on stuff like that and just laugh at certain people that, that throw, bitch fits on the bench and stuff like that. And that's what makes it great. Okay. So yeah, I would have to say this, The Longest Yard, Brian's Song, an honorable mention, Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr. That's a spectacular one too that came out around the same time. But to me, because of Denzel's performance alone, I have to say Remember the Titans is the #1 football movie in my book.
Right. Well, you also left out The Express, which we mentioned in the Chadwick Boseman episode that we did. So where does that rank in this?
I would say like number 5 or number 6. It's, I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm from Syracuse and that's a great movie, but like, I can't sit here and look at you in the face and tell you that The Express is better than, Remember the Titans, or it's better than, some of the other movies we just mentioned, but It's definitely another one people should check out. Now, next question, before we can wrap this up, where would you rank this among Denzel's best?
See, that's an easier list to compile, but he's done so many good movies, right? So if I think about his top movies, right? So I'm thinking Training Day, Man on Fire, The Hurricane, John Q, Philadelphia, The Pelican Brief, Glory. This is probably, I would say, like, I would put this like somewhere in the middle again, like maybe like 4th down, because you you've got to put like probably Training Day or Glory at the top. You've got to put The Hurricane probably after that. Malcolm X. So many good movies. Yeah. Malcolm X, The Book of Eli. I mean, the guy just doesn't do bad movies. I even saw an old movie that he did years ago called Carbon Copy in 1981 with George Segal. I don't know if you've ever seen
so that was before St. Elsewhere.
Yeah, it was way before like that.
Okay, I thought St. Elsewhere was his first on-screen work. I was not sure.
No, I think he had done some other. Well, he had definitely done some other things before that, but I think Carbon Copy it might have been a TV movie, but it came out in like either 1980 or 1981, and even in that movie, which was not a good movie by any stretch, like the writing in it was terrible. But he was like the bright spot of that movie. It was so clear. Every line that he delivered was funny or poignant, or or it brought you some kind of emotion where everybody else in the movie was just kind of phoning it in, and so, I mean, you really can't fault the guy. When you say that he's your favorite, like, I definitely get it, man. He's definitely awesome. But I wanted to, before we wrap this up, I kind of wanted to shift gears and talk a little bit about Gary Bertier, about the actual person that Ryan Hurst played. So that character, as you know, like if anybody who's seen the movie, gets into a car accident towards the end of the film. Yeah. And he becomes a paraplegic for the rest of his life. So in real life, that accident happened after the championship. It happened on the night of like a celebratory banquet.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that.
Right. So they changed that for the film. But one of the things that they don't really get into in the movie is that once he sort of rehabilitates and sort of, becomes used to the idea of becoming a paraplegic, he becomes what they call a Paralympian. So they have like wheelchair Olympics and things like that. And he actually became like a notable champion in that, winning tons of awards. Like he got a gold medal in shot put. And the coach that he used for that is actually Coach Yost, who was played by Will Patton in the movie. The assistant coach in the movie was actually his coach for all those Olympics that he won. And he also became like an advocate for disabled people who are disabled, like basically became an advocate for like disabled rights. So like, things that we see now, like wheelchair access and things like that, he championed those things. and he was pretty active in helping other people with spinal cord injuries like adjust and rehabilitate and sort of get a positive mental outlook. And the last thing I'm going to mention is that after his death in 1981, his sister formed a foundation. I think it's called I have it here. It's the Bertier Number 42 Foundation, and it's directed towards helping people who are victims of spinal cord injuries. And I'll post the information as far as like where you can donate to that. But I just thought that information was so it's powerful and kind of speaks to who that guy was like in real life versus the character that you see in the film, because they really didn't touch on any of that at all.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that really needed to be said, that all of that really needs to be mentioned to kind of just talk about the kind of the kind of guy he actually really was.
Wow, that's deep stuff, man. I was not. Yeah, that's why I love doing this show with you, because you're here to educate, and you educate me in the process, and that's what makes this show great, man. And again, I'm glad to have you back. I mean, those 2 weeks without you felt like the longest 2 weeks of your life. All right, so just some closing thoughts, real quick, is in this day and age, we're in. It's really ridiculous in this day and age that we're still talking about racial equality and whatnot. So that's why I feel like this is a movie that everybody should watch, because I feel like in times like these, this is a good watch. Not just that, but it's the football stuff's entertaining as hell, and we're in the middle of an NFL season. So that's what I'm just going to say right now is, because of the social commentary in the film and because of the football action, it's definitely a great watch and it's a great look back. But the sole reason to be a fan of this movie and the sole reason to watch this movie is because of Denzel Washington. And I'll take that to my grave. It's just one of the Denzel movies which is a must watch. So again, the movie has its problems, but it's definitely a good watch. There's some stuff that doesn't hold up too well as far as the execution and editing towards the end, but as a movie and in this day and age that we're living in right now, it's definitely it's a very important watch, and it's a highly recommend from your boy Jay.
And I agree with you. Pacing problems aside, I think that this is it's a great film. It's very well acted by not only Denzel but everybody in the cast. It has a powerful message. Mm-hmm. One that's probably needed now more than ever.
Yes. And
it's highly entertaining. And so if you have Disney Plus, it's available right now. No additional cost. Not like Mulan, but yeah, you can watch it on Disney Plus. It's also available on Amazon Prime, I believe, for
like $3.
Yeah,
yep.
It's like $3. So it's definitely like worth a watch for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Mark, I'm just glad to see that you're back.
Thanks.
Obviously, I know we had not a health scare, but a minor illness that that you overcame, and I'm glad to see you're kicking. And and of course, you were out saving the world a couple weeks ago with Dion at the University of Maine. So it's great to have you back, and we're really excited about we have more lookbacks coming this month, and we have speaking of Dion, we have a great stream coming up this week, NerdCage Live Assemble, where it's gonna be us with Dion from Off the Beaten podcast and our good friend voice actor Matthew Farden. So it's gonna be the first time for the four of us together on screen live. And we're definitely gonna talk about The Boys, and we're gonna talk about a whole lot of nerd stuff. We're looking forward to that. And of course, we're a couple weeks away to the mighty Zach Householder from Whitechapel coming on the show Thursday, the 29th of October. That's just going to be an absolute blast. So, man, like I said, we're hitting our stride right here in October, and we're just having fun doing it.
Yeah, so far October has not disappointed. It's been a lot of good content, a lot of good things for us to talk about, and these next few weeks like you said, we've been waiting a while to kind of make these things happen. And so now that they are, I can't wait, particularly for this Thursday, and again, much thanks to everybody who, keeps tuning in and checking us out. We really appreciate the support. Keep telling your friends, keep letting people know about us. We'll continue to grow and strive to get better every time. And we look forward to entertaining you the next week.
Absolutely. So before we go, we ask you to pretty please like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell and spread this shit like syphilis to everybody you know. So to you I say, from Louisville to Syracuse, to all of our friends and fans around the world at NerdCage Live, enjoy life, stay safe, and good night.
Sayonara.
Ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!